If you have any good ideas for improving the content, I'd love to read them in the comments. Love. What's the best mindfuck movie? Pi 1998. Nothing like a movie that makes you feel like you have schizophrenia. Darren Aronofsky is a crazy person. He also directed The Fountain, a metaphor for multiple pagan and Christian myths, modern science, a romance story and human determination all rolled into one. Also Requiem for a Dream is by Darren. Also Requiem for a Krispy Kreme aka The Whale. The music in Requiem is thoroughly haunting. The documentary about it makes even less sense. Why are they on a raft? Who's the tiger? Lol, it took me a minute. Paprika will take your brain for a ride. I'd also add Millennium Actress and Perfect Blue. Satoshi Kon does a lot of mindfuck shit. R.I.P. Satoshi Kon, gone far too soon. Coherence. The more you read into Coherence, the crazier it gets. Movie was shot in 5 days with a $50,000 budget in the director's house while his wife was having a home birth. The actors were given small paragraphs of lines for the day, so they didn't know how the story would unfold, which leads to lots of improvising, which is why the camera is mobile and shaky. My favorite part about all this is how the actors improvised a lot of the scenes and dialogue. It gives it such a homey feel and really pulls you into the story. I've watched this movie like 5 times and I go on an internet rabbit hole every time because it's such a cool concept. Jacob's Ladder. If you're frightened of dying and you're holding on, you'll see devils tearing your life away. If you've made your peace, then the devils are really angels, freeing you from the earth. Primer. Are you hungry? I haven't eaten anything since later this afternoon. By a long shot. I have watched it a few times and I still can't tell you exactly how everything plays out, which is so unique because it's not overdone at all. It is, paradoxically, extremely simplistic in its complexity. It doesn't reach out of its reality to add to the factor of confusion. It's just a huge mess of causality and attempted reparations. Videodrome is still the king of what the fuck did I just watch? Long live the new flesh. How about Existence with Jude Law, also directed by Cronenberg? I'm so glad someone else mentioned Videodrome though. Old Boy, the Korean one. Yes. The ending to that movie was a real mindfuck, at least for those of who watched it back in the era it was released. Not sure how it has aged. I watched it for the first time recently within the past year while dodging spoilers. It holds up to everything I've heard about it, and I've heard nothing but incredibly high praise. The only exception is the famous hallway fight scene in my watch. I loved it, but I imagine it was much more impactful back when it was released and single-shot action scenes were unheard of. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. This movie had me wandering the theater parking lot trying to figure out what I just watched. My favorite of all time. I was so confused the first time I watched it, but then I realized Kate Winslet's hair color helps you follow the timeline. Such a beautiful and moving film. The Lighthouse. I think I audibly gasped or said what the fuck at least 5 times throughout this movie. Felt like I was going insane. 12 Monkeys. One of Brad Pitt's best performances. Well, maybe not best, but it was definitely his most performance. Brad Pitt at his most, for sure. Back before I saw this movie, I thought Pitt was only famous because he was good looking. After I saw this, I realized that he could actually act. Memento. This was my immediate reaction. Go in blind if you can. But then how will I see the movie? The audio alone can't be that good. I'm chasing this guy. No, he's chasing me. I don't feel drunk. One that people haven't mentioned, The Game by David Fincher. Michael Douglas and Sean Penn delivered great performances. Being John Malkovich. Malkovich? Malkovich. Enter the Void is a real trip. That's one of those movies where I'm glad I've seen it, because it's such a unique movie watching experience, but I also never want to watch it again. The Machinist. Right after this, Bale gained like 100 pounds of muscle for Batman Begins. Synecdoche, New York. Most Charlie Kaufman works honestly. Frailty. Blue Velvet. And honestly any other Lynch movie. I love that man. Let's not forget Eraserhead. Predestination. I watched this without knowing what I was getting into. I was like, oh, a time travel movie with Ethan Hawke? Huh, sounds cool. Bro, my mind was fucking blown. The Prestige. The best Christopher Nolan film for my money. There was a twist in The Prestige like every 2 minutes. My brain just kept doing backflips the whole film. I kid you not, the best viewing of that movie is like the fifth time LMAO. The line that I didn't get until multiple rewatches was the answer of "not today" to the question, "Do you love me?" So subtle and yet so bloody obvious when you know. There's a lot of misdirection in the movie in addition to clues. His wife not feeling loved the same every day is explainable by his total devotion to his craft and feud between him and his rival, so it gets written off when you first view it. Brazil. How are the twins? Triplets. How time flies. Event Horizon. I saw it in the theater as a young teenager. I was like, yes, I enjoy science fiction and I'll watch more films with Dr. Grant. But it was not Dr. Grant. And it was not quite science fiction. And I've never watched it again since. I keep thinking about it. It pops up on various streaming platforms, but I think it traumatized me in a way I haven't fully come to grips with, almost 30 years later. I watched that movie when I was around 11 or 12. It took me until my late 20s before I was willing to lay eyes on it again. It stands out in my mind as one of the most horrifying movies because I was old enough to understand what was going on mostly, but young enough to still have a very strong imagination, and damn, that was a rough combination for that one. Black Swan. Donnie Darko is more a pleasant hump. He asked me to forcibly insert the Lifeline exercise card into my anus. The director had to leave the set when she was delivering that line. He was laughing so hard. Beth Grant is a treasure. Shutter Island got me pretty good, definitely worth a watch. Mulholland Drive. You're just watching a movie, everything's cool. There's the scene where they're at the playhouse or whatever, and the woman is singing crying over you in Spanish, then the whole thing goes sideways. I found myself wondering, what the hell am I watching? Did I fall asleep and miss a bunch? Not unlike reading Virginia Woolf. I was obsessed with deciphering Mulholland Drive for a while. I bought it on VHS, fell deeper into the rabbit hole, and ended up printing out various perspectives and discussions of forum users. The only other time I did that was with Twin Peaks. Say 7 I saw it in the theater in the mid-90s when it came out. When the credits rolled, everybody just sat there in silence. Nobody got up for a long time. It was surreal. Fast forward almost 30 years. My 20-year-old son walks up to me all shaken up and says, "Holy shit, I just watched Say 7 have you seen it?" Almost 30 years and it still holds its effect. One of the best twists of Say 7 is the fact that people didn't even know Kevin Spacey was in the movie. He wasn't in any of the advertisements at all, and he was big actor already. Finding out he was the villain was a great surprise. Detective, 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 you're looking for me. Annihilation. Every time I watch it gets weirder. Have you read the books? Just when you think they will answer one of the many mysteries, they just hand you a tray of more instead. I was just going to say, there's so much weird stuff in the book that didn't translate to on screen. Arrival. I saw the movie in theaters and had class the next day at university. The class felt oddly familiar, almost like a déjà vu on steroids, and I felt mindfucked like the main character in the movie. It turns out, and I kid you not, some scenes were shot at the same university I attended. Not only that, I was literally in the same classroom as the one in the movie, which is the scene where Amy Adams comes to teach to a quarter-full classroom and the students ask her to turn on the television to see what's going on. The school is Hautes Études Commerciales de Montréal, HEC Montreal, in the Dessels building. That would seriously mess with a person. This one wasn't so much a mindfuck as it was a blast to watch as someone who had just finished a BS in English education with a heavy focus on linguistics. They did a great job of throwing out stupid assumptions that popcorn flicks always make and actually gave us a decent depiction of first contact with a previously uncontacted language. Old Boy the original? Why hasn't anyone mentioned this yet? Man, I watched that at a friend's house not knowing anything about it. Wild. That's an interesting choice of emoji for that movie. Requiem for a Dream. Read the book if you liked the move. The fridge scene in the movie was gentle in comparison, goddamn harrowing. The Usual Suspects. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist, and like that, he was gone. Donnie Darko. Something weird I find about Donnie Darko is that without the weird lore to explain it, basically it makes no sense at all. Yet watching it, it feels like it makes sense. Fight Club, The Game, The Machinist, Pi, Identity, Cube, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, The Witch. Thank you for watching. In the comments below the video you can write what is the best movie about mindfuck you know.